and welcome to another pen video from me, Penultimate Dave. So I have here another inks comparison video, and this is Sheen Monster ink comparison number 1. So I think with that, let's go and swap up some of these inks. So I get a lot of questions on how I do these ink videos. So I decided I would add this to the front of each of the ink videos. I put links in the description, but I know some of you watch this on TVs or mobile devices, so you don't get to see this. So first off, the paper is the number one question I get asked. What paper do I use for these ink comparison videos? So this is the original Tomoe River. This is 52 GSM, and it is the white, not the cream, the white. Where possible, I try to go for the white because the cream can actually change the colour of the ink just a little bit. So this is Tomoe River 52 GSM in the white. A lot of people get confused as well because I have what looks to be a grid on this page, and it's actually an Oxford Optik pad. These are the pads that I actually use when I'm writing my writing samples for pen reviews or in my currently ink, so they have these little squares up here. I just use that because it's a good guide for me. When I put this very thin sheet of Tomoe River over, I can actually see squares, so it helps me write a little bit sort of straight on the page. Not always, but sometimes it does. The other thing that I also have is I have a bottle of water, plain water, and I dip my nib in here. So for consistency, I use the same fountain pen, or I guess it's not a fountain pen, it's using a fountain pen nib though. This is a 3D printed pen from William Shakour in the UK. So he prints this material 3D, and it has a number 8 size Bock nib which I can unscrew, and you can see there. So it is just a dip pen holder for a number 8 size Bock nib, and the idea is I want to have consistency with the writing sample. So I use this, I dip it in the ink, I write, and then I will dip it in here and I will rinse the nib off several times and I will dry it, and then at that point I will then go on to do the next ink swatch and the next writing sample. So there you have it. That's how I do my ink swatches. So I just wanted to show you that here. Now on to the ink comparison video. So the first ink here in this inks comparison video is Diamine China Blue. Now we'll do an ink swatch here, and I am going to try and layer this on quite wet. This is Tomoe River. We should be seeing some sheen on these Sheen Monster inks, so I'm going to try and put on as much as I can here, just to see if I can try and get some of that sheen to show. So this is Diamine, and it is China Blue. The next ink here is Blackstone Barrier Reef, and Blackstone is an old ink manufacturer from Australia. Unfortunately, they closed their business just before the pandemic hit and have not reopened, unfortunately, because some of their inks were really good. We'll do another ink swatch here, and again I will try and layer this on so that we get a lot of ink so that you can kind of see what or how good this will sheen. So I'm not going to show the difference between a wet and a dry writing nib, but I will just put a lot of ink down. And this is Blackstone, and it is Barrier Reef. But if you have the chance to actually pick up some older bottles of Blackstone, I would definitely say try and pick them up. Certainly Barrier Reef is normally a good sheening ink, and also a little bit at the time sometimes is Sydney Harbour Blue. And speaking of Sydney Harbour Blue, I have Blackstone here, Sydney Harbour Blue as the next ink. So we'll do another ink swatch here. And this one is quite viscousy, so quite thick. So again, you typically do find when an ink is quite viscous that you're going to get a lot of sheen from it. We'll do a little bit more of a pass there just to get some more of that ink onto the page. And this is going to take a long time to dry. So this is Blackstone. And it is Sydney Harbour Blue. Again, that's a nice blue ink. I do find that is a lot more darker though than Barrier Reef. The next ink is a Diamine ink, but this is a Pen Venture exclusive called Desert Rose. So we'll do another ink swatch. And again, this is quite a viscousy ink. But again, I will try to put as much ink down as I can so you can see some of the sheen properties of this ink. And this is Diamine, Desert Rose. I can already start to see the sheen on this ink. The next ink here is Diamine and it's Amazing Amethyst. So we'll do another ink swatch here. And I have seen online this to sheen quite a lot. But I'm having to say on this ink swatch, I'm not so sure it will. But let's have a look. We'll put a lot of ink on here. A little bit more. There you go. So this is Diamine. And it's Amazing Amethyst. So I hope after all of this it will actually sheen. And then the last ink here is Diamine Aurora Borealis. So we'll do an ink swatch. And again, I will try to layer this on as much as I can. It is a bit of a teal coloured ink. There you go. It's a nice load of ink there. So this is Diamine. And it's Aurora Borealis. So I think let's now take a look at these inks now that they have dried. So the first ink here is Diamine China Blue. And you can see that this is quite an interesting colour. You can definitely see some sheen going on. There's some beautiful red sheen around the pooled areas there. I'm not actually seeing really much sheen in the writing sample. There's a little bit around the E on Diamine, but there's not a huge amount there. The next ink here is Blackstone Barrier Reef, and this is still trying to dry, but you'll see there that this has some wicked red sheen going on, and you can also see it in the writing sample as well. The B on Blackstone, the C, the K, the S, the E, and on Barrier the BARR, and also the F on Reef as well. This really is quite a nice sheening ink, but it is still trying to dry there. The next ink is Blackstone Sydney Harbour Blue, and I'm always a little bit torn about this because it's not a blue ink, it's a green ink. So I don't quite know why it's called Sydney Harbour Blue, but as I understand it, the water in Sydney Harbour is actually more green, but I would call this Sydney Harbour Green personally. Again, you can see some shading going on here, but also some really lovely red sheen going on there as well with this ink. So this is quite a nice ink to sheen. You can also see it on the writing sample there a little bit as well. You can see some red sheen going on there. It is actually quite a nice sheening ink, or sheen monster. But if you really want a sheen monster, then Diamine Desert Rose. And again, this is still trying to dry. You can see a little bit of shading going on, but not a lot. But you can see some absolutely wicking gold sheen there. Not only in the ink sample, or the ink swatch, but also in the writing sample there. It's pretty much a greenish goldy coloured ink. But that does look quite nice. It's a very, very sheen monster ink. Now, I have seen a lot of sheen on Diamine Amazing Amethyst on online swatches, but I really haven't used this ink much, and I was hoping to see a lot of sheen on this. But unfortunately, I would have to say there really isn't much of a sheen. There might be a little bit around the edges of the pooled area, but it really isn't what I would say a sheening ink, although I have seen it sheen online quite a bit in the past. And then the other ink here is Diamine Aurora Borealis, which is more of a greenish sort of teal coloured ink. And you can see a lot of shading going on here, like you could with Diamine Amazing Amethyst. But you do see some beautiful red sheen there around the pooled areas of the ink there. Now, I'm not seeing that on the writing sample though, but I am seeing it in the ink swatch. So there you have it. That's my Sheen Monster Inks Comparison #1 video. If there are any of these inks that you like, do let me know in the comments below. Likewise, if there are any other sheening inks that you would like me to check out, do let me know in the comments below. So that's my Sheen Monster Inks Comparison #1 video. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next pen video. Bye bye.